Let's go. Okay, hello everyone. We're here today with Abhi. He is the Chief Content Officer of Warrior9VR, and he is really, we're grateful to have him give his views on communications tech and specifically virtual reality and augmented reality. So perhaps I can just hand the floor to Abhi to give us a couple of sentences on what you actually do.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, super fast. Warrior9VR is essentially a content creation company. So this company focuses on telling stories through AR and VR, the mediums of those two platforms. It's new, it's exciting, it's very different. We're doing stuff which not a lot of companies are doing. We're not really a tech company. Again, we're a content company. So we take a very different approach to the work that we do in this space. Yeah.
And you've taken, I think when I first met you, we were having a go at those glasses and doing gaming and doing that immersive technology. It's moved to a different direction now, would you say?
You mean our work?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, initially what we were doing was essentially like 360 video, like 3D 360 video. And now, as the team grew, we've been doing much more interactive projects. So we have our works. I don't know if any of your team has VR headsets, but it's called Oceans We Make, which is on the Oculus and Steam stores. We also have an AR project, which you can use on iOS and your mobile phone, basically, called Our Ocean Life. Google is on Android and the iOS stores. So if you guys want, feel free to check it out. It's just different mediums of telling stories. So it's short 10-minute experiences, basically.
And why marine pollution? I thought that was
Yeah,
interesting.
I guess for us, we're quite passionate about certain topics, and we wanted to, the stories that Warrior9VR tells are stories that we actually believe in. Our whole thing is about making a difference. A lot of our team are divers, and we've had the experience where you're diving and you experience plastic pollution. So that's really what kind of pushed us into it. And then VR obviously is an experiential technology, right? So that was the best way of showing people that this is what it would be like when you're swimming in this pristine ocean, and then you're basically assaulted by plastic, and we kind of gamified it as well. So we developed this whole experience, a story around it, to actually explain to people what's happening to our oceans with plastic pollution and what impact it really has. So that has been quite a successful project for us in terms of it was been shown around the world. It was shown at the UN, a World Bank, in the US, in Singapore, in the museums around here. So it's been really good for us in terms of getting our name out there.
So it's a way to sort of raise awareness, right, for people, but using a quite immersive way of telling that story.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not telling a story because you're actually already there. So it's much more powerful, right? When you're telling us when you're truly experiencing the story. So where if I were to tell you a story about I went diving and I was collecting plastic and stuff like that, you'd be like, yeah, okay. But when you're in there and you're actually there, you don't have a choice but to experience it because it's closed off. It's just you in an environment and there's nobody to unless there's somebody poking you on the outside. Otherwise, it's just you experiencing it. So you don't have a choice. It's much more powerful. We've actually we did a number of surveys as well because it was accepted into, what's that technology event that happened in Tokyo where they did a survey around it and they found something like more than 80% of people who used it were really curious now, wanted to find out much more about plastic pollution. So there is a very clear impact that these kind of VR experiences have, which obviously made us feel great because we were like, we should do more of these. Yeah.
So, and it's quite interesting because we're immersed, right? I use the word again and again, but we also talk about how communications technologies now move us seamlessly, right? Through what you experience in real life and what you experience, with the headset and with the technology. Do you then see is there a difference now? Because you're a content producer in this field. Are you able to tell the difference now between a physical space and a technological space?
Yeah, I mean, because
Mm.
no worries.
Okay.
Definitely the tech is not there yet. I would say it's moving there. I think that would be the ultimate desire of all of these companies who are creating content in there. But it's if you look at the, I mean, like if you remember the headset that you had,
Yes.
just putting it on and stuff is an experience, right? And like it was kind of clunky, and it's been much the user experience is improving. Like the changes that are happening in the VR space technology wise is some of the fastest that I've ever seen. And the new headsets that are coming out right now is definitely moving towards that, where it's not plugged into a computer. You just put on the headset, you can move around in a
Really?
space and interact with stuff. So it's definitely moving there. It's not there yet, and I think it will definitely be a few years away from that, because I think one of the biggest limitations or blockers to tech is the fact that you still need to have this clunky thing on your
Mm.
head. I mean,
Mm.
given the choice, and especially if you're like this, I mean, VR right now is being used for like gaming is one of the big ones. That's what Facebook has acquired one of the big companies, Oculus, so they're pushing a social network angle on it. And then of course you have in the enterprise spaces training and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of, we want it to be interactive and all those aspects. So especially also if you watch movies like Ready Player One and all that,
Mm.
that's when people watch those things, they're like, oh, I want, that would be really cool, I want something like that. The practicalities of it obviously are totally different. So we
Right.
are, I think, moving towards that very fast. But in terms of like, would you wear a VR headset and watch something, or would you watch Netflix? I think it's still easier to watch Netflix, right? In terms of just entertainment space and like general laziness of people. So it's getting easier, but they still have quite a few hurdles to cover there.
That's interesting. Huh? Like it kind of we talk about this whole theory and in the subject about technological determinism and social determinism, and how technology defines how we behave, and how it changes how we use our sight, our hearing. And then you've said something interesting, like, would you rather wear a bulky headset than to sit back and watch? So, how have you seen, I don't know, with the evolution of VR headsets and the technological advancements, have you seen how it changes people's behavior? I mean, you're in the field, like, do the posture changes or their interaction changes, or they just spend very short time in it to not really make an impact towards that behavior?
I think, if you see somebody using VR, it is an immediate transformative experience. At one point, they're in a convention hallway, and the next point, they are taken to underwater or something like that. So, and you can definitely see the immediate, like, I mean, my favorite thing is watching it because the jaw drops. You're just like, their brain is trying to process what's happening, and
Yeah.
they're especially, and a lot of the people who use our work or tried our experiences, their first time or second, like really early users, who either have tried like not great experiences, like a blocky video or something like that, like early days, and so they really haven't tried these kind of refined experiences which are built for this kind of VR experience. So a lot, and they are totally blown away by it. Which is why we wanted to do more work, because if you want to reach somebody in the quickest possible way, like, and send them a message about something, VR is the way to do it. In my mind, there's no doubt the only blocking thing is to actually get them to put on the headset and try.
Oh,
But
okay.
once they do that, there's no easier way of getting a message across to them, because you just put them in that environment, and you just they can immediately experience it. So I mean, I know in the US, where they have a lot more like social funding and all that kind of stuff, they do a lot more social related projects, like Black Lives Matter in VR and all that kind of stuff. So all the topical issues can be created into VR experiences, because there's government funding and all that kind of stuff for it. So it's different. But then you can't, the other thing is, you can't really wear headsets for too long in general if you're like a layperson, just because it is a different layer of, like, I would say it's a different way of using your eyes. It's not, and you may find it stressful, right? Some people can be like, oh, I'm not used to looking around and trying to experience it, because they don't even know how to absorb a story, like, because the first time you're trying it, you just want to try and look at everything and see how realistic it is, and can I grab this, can I do that? So there's different layers. So the first time you use it, you're just blown away by the experience. You don't even probably listen to if there is a story or whatever. You're just like, whoa, what is this? Can I touch that? And then the second time around, then you're like, oh, okay, wait, there's something else going on here. Then maybe even the third time around, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. There's this story. So the way we create stuff, we want people to use it multiple times, right? So it's short experiences, 5 to 10 minutes, where they want to go back in there and experience it and just keep playing it over and over again until they're like, then they're like, okay, now I get it. I'm going to move on. So you do get that repetition. Whereas if you watch a TV show or a movie or whatever, you're not going to immediately rewatch it, right? Whereas with VR, we've seen people be like, can I try it again? Like right now, try it again. That kind of thing. Even though it's like a linear story, they want to do the whole thing. They know what's going to happen, but they want to do it again.
Because I think maybe every time the headset goes on, it's a different experience, right? A different part of the brain.
It's a different thing. You're focusing on something else. You're listening to something else. You're looking at something else. It's like all around you, right? So it's still a different, even though you know that, okay, this is the time when the shark is going to swim past me, there's still so many other things going on. You want to really experience it. So I think there's definitely repeatability that's built into it.
So you're saying that I think I've been reading some literature, and it's about investing in this technology. It's expensive to make it. Is it accessible? Is that one of the threads of the argument? Or
sorry, you froze. You froze.
Oh,
I
froze for a sec. Okay, I will start again. Is it? What's the barriers to entry for VR? Cost?
You mean for the layperson?
Yeah, I know. For like your company, like you, how much money do you have to invest to kind of like, I don't know, advance it to make it accessible to the layperson?
I would say like the work that we do, because it's kind of CG, it's very like, it's like developing a video game. It's the same concept, because you're developing a 3D space and then there's an experience that goes in it. Whereas gaming is much more interactive. Ours is not like that, but it's the same kind of concept. So if you look at, you need programmers, you need the hardware, you need, you need top of the line PCs, obviously, to run to code and create the things. You need the headsets, which are not always easily accessible, all that kind of stuff. But it's not cheap, right? It's not cheap doing what we do. It takes a lot of time to come up with a concept. We spend a lot of time in pre-production, just envisioning the space, looking at creating rough environments. Does this work? Because again, you don't know what's going to work and what isn't, right? It's a very different approach to it. So if I'm like, okay, I'm going to make it so that we jump into the water, well, how is that going to work in VR? Like, yeah, because I'm not going to be moving, but my avatar is going to be moving in VR. What does that do to a person? Does that make them ill, or are we moving the camera too fast and all that kind of stuff? So there's a lot of things that we spend a lot of time prepping. That takes time, right? And it costs quite a bit of money. So yeah, it's a big investment to be in the VR space. Being in Asia obviously is cheaper, because it's not like in the US and stuff. There are affordable developers and stuff that you can work here. But I think the kernel is that creative initiative that you take. Like, what is the actual idea, and does that work for VR? A lot of people take concepts which they think in like the traditional 2D screen, that they're like, I would like to do because that would be cool. But that doesn't always necessarily translate, right? Because that's the thing. That's the difference that we bring, is that our work is actually created specifically for this kind of 360 virtual reality environments, or augmented reality environments. And that's why you have to spend a lot of time planning for it.
So what's your next project? You've got this marine story. What stories are you?
So we've released a bunch of stuff. COVID has obviously thrown a spanner in the works for us. So it's right now we're kind of just watching the industry. We don't have any solid plans. We used to do a lot of event work, with our content. That's obviously not there anymore. So right now we do have a sci-fi animated series in VR, which sounds pretty cool, and it is. It's called The Phoenix. So that's something that we are in the process of distributing. So we're actively working on that because you don't need to. That's just like Zoom calls and phone calls and stuff. So we're actively working on just distributing that
Okay.
this year, and then at the end of the year we're gonna see what's happening with the industry and start looking at, okay, these are the next projects that we're going to be working on. So it's, for us, it's a bit of a timeout. We're just taking a break, seeing what's happening in
Okay.
the industry, working on licensing our existing content out there, to getting
Okay.
it out to different platforms.
Do you feel that COVID has kind of, I mean, it's given us a pause, right? Everyone's a pause in their business. Are you able to pivot off it? Have you seen opportunities with
Uh,
forcing everybody to be here rather than
yeah,
to?
I mean, I think because I speak with a lot of the VR platforms in like San Francisco and around the world.
Mm,
So I've been in touch with them, and the initial expectation was that, oh, okay, because people are stuck at home, they're definitely going to be using their VR sets more. Now, and that's something I've been super curious about, right? So I've been following up with them quite regularly. They have seen an uptick, but it's not been like an exponential uptick because, as I
right.
said, given the option of being stuck at home because of COVID and you're kind of depressed, do you want to put on a headset or do you want to watch Netflix? Well, they're watching Netflix most of the time because that's the easier thing to do, right? You just don't have the energy. It's a different type of thing. So I think right now, the way the VR market is moving, because of people like Facebook, the focus is really much more on interactivity. So
Mm,
like you're going to see a lot more, like, I guess they call them AAA games being developed because the headsets are now advanced enough where you can create like first person shooters and all that kind of stuff in that are equal to what you're seeing in your PlayStations or what have you. So that's I mean, for us, I see that's the main focus that's going to be pushing the industry, is this kind of super interactive content. For us, again, we're all about the story. We want to create something which means something to us. I think we're pretty much done with the ocean content. We're going to move on to other things. And we're looking for, like, what is the next thing that we want to focus on, whether it's environmental or what have
mm,
you. Again, it has to work for the medium.
mm,
So
of
I
course.
think you're going to see a lot of shifts in the industry for sure. I think and it'll be much clearer next year. I mean, I can make predictions, but this is pointless because let's just see what happens.
No. Okay, maybe last question then. So is Asia the place to be for VR? Maybe it's a naive question, but is Singapore, is Asia the place to be for development of VR?
Um, I think it's definitely cheaper to produce VR out here, but the reality is most of the investment is happening in the West. So
Really,
like,
yeah?
finding the investment money is not going to be easy to do it out here. Of course, if like it can be a simple matter of, like, if you look at one of the um, biggest successful games on VR is this thing called Beat Saber. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it was made by the two Russian developers, just two guys who built the first iteration of it, and I mean, it's easily made like more than $100 million
Wow.
in the market. So now, and their company got acquired by Facebook like last year or earlier this year, I think. So it's like all you need is a good idea. That's what I'm saying, and a few guys who can code and like do it. That's what you really need. So if you can do that in Singapore, then all the investors will obviously come to you. So these guys are based
Mm,
in Russia. They got the investment, they got the acquisition, and location is one thing, but it just comes down to the idea and execution of it. And if you look at YouTube videos on Beat Saber, it's not some amazing super graphics run experience. It's just like a music based kind of game. So
really?
yeah, you should check it out. Like, it's an interesting concept. You just need that idea to make it happen and just deliver it out there. So
So you never
it's
know,
a
you
global
might
world
be,
now. So yeah.
I know it's a global world. You don't need to be anywhere to kind of like get investment, right? Maybe one day you also be bought up by Facebook.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh dear. Okay, well, that's very good. I think we can wrap it up. So thank you very much, Abhi, for that. I will stop the recording here, and everyone can watch it and play on repeat. And if you have any questions, you can just send me and send Abhi some questions on VR.